Remember those lazy summer evenings when Grandpa would pull out the old photo album, his callous fingers tracing the edges of yellowed pictures? There you'd see wide-open highways stretching like promises, riverboats puffing lazy clouds of smoke into cotton candy sunsets, and families piled high in cars that seemed to grin with chrome bumpers. The air would grow thick with his stories, of journeys that stretched days, even weeks, where every bump in the road or sway of a boat carried laughter, worries, and the sweet ache of leaving home behind. Back then, traveling across America wasn't about beating the clock. It was about letting the land seep into your bones, mile by whispered mile. It built character, sparked romances, and turned strangers into lifelong friends over shared campfire beans or a tin cup of coffee. Today we're looking at 10 ways Americans traveled before airplanes took over, from the bone-rattling bounce of stagecoaches to the sing-along freedom of family station wagons. Each one a thread in the quilt of our nation's wandering heart. 1. Bouncing along in stagecoaches. Picture the dusty dawn of the 1800s, when the Wild West wasn't just a dime novel dream, but a rugged call pulling pioneers from cozy eastern farms to the golden promise of California. Folks squeezed on the hard wooden benches inside those iconic Concord stagecoaches. 9 passengers per rig, swaying with a pull of 4 or 6 sturdy horses that kicked up clouds of red dirt on trails scarred by wagon wheels. The thrill came from the unpredictability. Every sway over a creek bed or sudden halt at a stage station brought hot cornbread, fresh spring water, and yarn spun by weathered drivers who'd outrun grizzlies and claim jumpers alike. Mothers clutched babes close while fathers scanned the horizon for dust devils or distant riders, turning the coach into a rolling schoolroom of survival tips and stargazing lessons. It forged unbreakable spirits, those grueling trips, where a kind word from a fellow traveler could mend a frayed soul after a rain-soaked night. But as the iron rails of the railroads began threading the continent in the 1860s, offering cushioned seats and scheduled stops, the stagecoach's wild romance faded into the annals of frontier lore, its leather harnesses traded for tickets punched with progress. 2. Gliding on paddle-wheel steamboats. Oh, the hypnotic charm of America's rivers in the early 1800s, when the mighty Mississippi and Ohio weren't barriers but boulevards of opportunity, bustling with flatboats and keelboats that gave way to something grander. It all sparked to life in 1807 with Robert Fulton's steamboat Clermont, a puffing marvel that slashed travel times from weeks to mere days, inviting merchants, planters, and wide-eyed adventurers aboard vessels like the Natchez or Robert E. Lee. Imagine stepping onto those wide, polished decks at dusk, the massive paddle wheels thumping like a giant's heartbeat against the current, while a lively calliope piped tunes that dance over the water like fireflies. Passengers in their Sunday finery mingled in saloons lit by oil lamps, swapping tales of cotton fortunes and river ghosts over cards and cornbread, the air scented with wood smoke and magnolia. For families, it was a watery cradle. Children chasing deck games as the banks blurred into emerald galleries of willow and cypress, etching lessons in patience and wonder into young hearts. Yet by the mid-1800s, railroads clawed along the riverbanks with their relentless speed, and later automobiles hugged the levees, leaving those elegant paddle-wheelers to retire as floating palaces for tourists, their echoes still humming in the current's gentle song. 3. Clickety-clacking on the iron horse. Step into the smoky dawn of 1830. When the first American steam locomotives, dubbed the Iron Horse, belched to life on short lines like the Baltimore and Ohio, soon weaving a silver web that bound a young nation from coast to budding coast. By 1869, the Golden Spike at Promontory Summit linked the Transcontinental Railroad, transforming cross-country hauls for months into sunlit days aboard opulent Pullmans with lace-curtained berths and chandeliers swaying like pendulums. Families settled into velvet seats for the grand adventure, porters tucking blankets over knees as the landscape unfurled. Endless amber prairies giving way to jagged Rockies, all scored by that soothing clickety-clack that lulled worries to sleep. Dining cars became rolling feasts of linen and silver, where strangers bonded over roast beef and apple pie, sharing dreams of homesteads or city lights under the glow of coal-fired lamps. It was a pulse of progress, that iron rhythm, carrying immigrants to new starts and lovers to reunions, stitching America's story with threads of steel and steam. But in the 1940s, as highways bloomed like blacktop bouquets and airplanes sliced the skies, the passenger trains quieted to a whisper, yielding to the personal call of the open road and the rush of jet streams. 4. Trotting in horse and buggy. Wind back to the horse-drawn hush of the late 1800s, when nearly every American village thrummed with a steady clip-clop of hooves on cobblestone or packed earth, a symphony that marked the rhythm of rural life from dawn chores to twilight suppers. A family buggy wasn't just transport. It was a polished heirloom of maple and iron, hitched to a gentle mare named Bess who knew the way to church or the county fair by heart, her bridle jingling like wind chimes in the breeze. Fathers gripped the reins with quiet command, while mothers arranged picnic baskets brimming with fried chicken and berry tarts, turning a simple errand into a rolling conversation laced with neighborhood gossip and wildflower bouquets. Children perched on laps or the rear seat, pointing out bluebirds or rabbit tracks, learning the land's secrets one trot at a time, how a shady oak meant rest or a distant steeple spelled home. Those unhurried jaunts wove the warp and weft the community, where a wave from a porch could spark a lifelong friendship over shared fences. Alas, by 1910, Henry Ford's Model T flooded farms and towns with affordable rumble seats and headlights that pierced the dusk, relegating the buggy to Sunday parades and the soft glow of barn lanterns, a symbol of simpler, saddle-bound days. 5. Pedaling free on early bicycles. Leap to the bicycle craze of the 1890s, a pedal-power revolution that swept America like a fresh wind, born from the safety bicycle, with its equal-size wheels and chain drive, dethroning the perilous high-wheelers that had terrified timid riders. Suddenly, everyday folks, office clerks in knickers, suffragettes in flowing skirts, claimed the streets and byways, zipping to markets or meadows on machines that cost as much as a horse, but promised independence without oats or stables. The joy was in the freedom, that first wobbly push into balance, wind whipping cheeks rosy as you coasted past orchards heavy with peach scent or waved to admirers from a park bench. Sweethearts arranged clandestine spins at twilight, the creak of spokes a secret serenade, while advocacy groups pedaled for paved roads that would later pave the way for autos. It empowered the masses, those two-wheeled wonders, blurring city edges into countryside escapes and fueling a fitness fad that flushed faces with health and hope. But as the 1910s roared in with Ford's assembly-line flood of cars, cheaper, faster, and weatherproof, bikes bowed to backseat, evolving into children's delight and casual cruisers, their bells tinkling echoes of liberated legs. 6. Rumbling west in covered wagons. Cast your mind to the feverish 1840s, when the Oregon Trail beckoned like a siren song, luring over 400,000 souls westward in canvas-draped prairie schooners that groaned under the weight of hopes, heirlooms, and hardship across 2,000 unforgiving miles. Oxen or mules strained at the traces, pulling families who walked most of the way, blistered feet tracing rivers like the Platte, pausing at Independence Rock to carve names into granite testaments of grit. Evenings brought the magic of circled wagons, where fiddle tunes rose with the smoke of sagebrush fires, mending weary hearts with beans, bacon, and ballads of the home they'd left. Mothers stitched quilts by lantern light, teaching daughters a stitch of resilience, while fathers scanned for buffalo herds or Pawnee signals, turning peril into pioneer poetry. Those odysseys weren't just migrations. They were crucibles, forging clans tempered by thunderstorms and triumphs, where a child's first wildflower pressed in a diary became treasure. By the 1870s, railroads pierced the plains with efficient steel spines, shrinking epics to express trains and consigning covered wagons to ghost towns and history books, their white tops forever furrowed in memory's vast prairie. 7. Cruising coast to coast in the Model T. The liberated roar of the 1910s, when Henry Ford's spunky Model T, affectionately the Tin Lizzie, democratized the dream, rolling off assembly lines at $850 a pop to ferry over 15 million Americans onto rutted roads that begged for blacktop. Families piled in with picnic hampers and road maps folded like origami puzzles, hand-cranking the engine to life for adventures that traced the Lincoln Highway from New York to San Francisco in dust-choked glory. Open-air motoring meant wind-tousled hair and impromptu stops at farm stands for cider and storytelling with locals who marveled at the horseless carriage. Kids invented games like counting cows or sketching license plates, while parents savored the solitude of stars unfiltered by city glare. The T's putt-putt a lullaby under canvas awnings. It embodied the era's zest that flivver, shrinking distances and swelling spirits, turning every driver into a captain charting personal horizons. By the 1930s, though, sleeker Chevys and Chryslers with enclosed cabins and smoother gears outpaced it, plus the web of paved interstates that followed, parking the Model T in museums, and Grandpa's tall tales of the good old rumble. 8. Crossing waters on ferries. From the salt-kissed shores of the 1600s colonial era, ferries served as America's liquid lifelines, hand-poled skiffs evolving into steam-driven packets that ferried farmers, fiddlers, and founding fathers across broad backs like the Hudson or Delaware, when bridges were but blueprints in bold minds. By the early 1800s, these floating taverns chugged with purpose, decks alive with a banner of travelers nursing mugs of ale and swapping harvest yields or election whispers under canvas awnings that snapped like sails. A crossing might stretch an hour, but oh, the gifts it gave, gulls wheeling overhead, the slap of waves against hulls like applause, and chance meetings with merchants bearing spices from afar that spice the soul. Families leaned on rails, pointing out herons in the reeds or distant sails, turning transit into teachable tides of tide and time. Captains, with pipes clenched and eyes on eddies, steered with stories that steadied nerves through fog or freshets. Yet as engineering arched triumphantly with the Brooklyn Bridge in 1883 and tunnels burrowed beneath by the 1900s, ferries receded to bay hops and harbor haunts, their horns hooting fond farewells to a bridging age. 9. Rolling the Greyhound Trails. Trace the thread to chilly 1914 Minnesota, where a borrowed Hupmobile chauffeured stranded theatergoers through snowdrifts, birthing the humble bus line that blossomed into Greyhound's gleaming Greyhound pack by the roaring 20s, hustling passengers from podunk to powerhouse cities for pennies compared to Pullman fares. Aboard those early coaches, velvet seats cradled the weary, windows framing a montage of golden cornfields and steel-framed skylines, while the steady hum of radios sang a road song that soothed the soul. Boxed lunches of ham sandwiches and thermoses of soup-fueled chats between farm wives and factory hands. Dreams deferred traded like trading cards on routes that knit the nation's neighborhoods. It leveled the landscape. Greyhound did, granting GIs post-war jaunts to sweethearts or salesman circuits without the pinch of rail luxury. The drivers might crackling with weather warnings or local lore. Romances bloomed in the back row. Reunions sealed with hugs at depots lit like beacons. Post-1940s, though, the siren call of cheap cars and cross-country flights trimmed its timetable, stranding Greyhound to regional relays, its hound emblem howling through highways of hindsight. 10. Family escapades in the station wagon. Nestling into the rosy 1950 suburbia, where the wood-paneled station wagon reigned as the ultimate family chariot, its cavernous rear gobbling tents, coolers, and kitty gear for Route 66 romps that mapped memories from diners to dunes. Dad gripped the wheel with pipe and teeth, navigating fold-out maps while Mom passed peanut butter crackers, the V8 engine purring like a contented cat over blacktop born of post-war boom. In the way back, siblings staged epic I Spy marathons or puppet shows with socks, squealing at roadside oddities, a world's largest prairie dog, or Cadillac ranch tilted in Texas dirt, that winked like wily uncles. Radios crackled with Elvis anthems or soap operas, binding the clan in harmony as Burma shave signs rhymed their way west, pulling over for pie at neon sign stops where waitresses called you Han. It captured childhood's essence, that wagon life. Vinyl seats sticky with secrets, starry campsites whispering wishes, turning miles into milestones of mischief and might. The jet-set swift wings clipped its sails by the 1960s, ushering in air-conditioned sedans and airport dashes. But crack open that old album, and you'll hear the tailgate slam on summers that shaped us still. There you have it, friends, a heartfelt rewind to an America on the move, where every creak and churn carried stories we'll never tire telling. Which of these old roads calls you back the strongest, or what's your own cherished tale from the trail? Share it down in the comments. Hit that like if it warmed your wanderlust, and subscribe so we can keep uncovering these golden yesterdays together. Until next time, may your paths be paved with plenty of pauses and plenty of heart.